Carini Arts. Today I have a new debut for you. I also have some news. As you tune in, make sure you check out my other pages. You can find me everywhere on my profile. My link tree shows you all my different pages. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I am on TikTok. I am obviously on YouTube. I am on Threads. I am still on Tumblr because it is the most successful platform that I've ever had over the course of my career. And it used to be a wonderful, glorious place to be until it was bought out. The live feeds that I do are your opportunity to ask me anything and everything for free. So take advantage of it. And I also want to let you know I'm going to be doing an artist symposium this weekend, the business of art at Sparks Gallery. I'm going to be speaking at 5 p.m. Pacific time on the business of art, in particular, how to turn your passion into a sustainable dream. I'm an artist that's been doing this for decades. I have sold over $1 million in art. I've exhibited major art fairs like Art Miami. I've exhibited with significant artists like Damien Hirst. I'm not better than anybody, but I have done some stuff. And I am somebody that is extremely candid and transparent about the journey. I don't just share the successes, I share the struggles and the failures. And one of the reasons that I love doing the free stuff, it's because I'm somebody that doesn't come from great abundance and resources. I had to put myself through school. I did not come from an art family, and I still, even as a career artist, have my struggles. And I think it's important to share that because a lot of artists are feeling very discouraged in 2026 because they're not having immediate success or they're not staying on top of that success all the time. And that has just never been the case for me. If that is the case for you, that is awesome. But is it the standard that should be set? I'm going to say probably not, but everybody's on their own journey. And that's what I like to share is that I'm not here to show you my way. I'm here to help you find a way and hopefully ultimately your way. And there are a number of ways that I can do that on top of doing the live feeds here. I do some artist mentoring and coaching. I do private one-on-one sessions, which you can find on my site. But this is the really cool thing. I am going to start doing some small group mentoring online through a program called Mastrius. You can find that on my website. I have it on a blog post. I also have it in the header. But this small group mentoring is cool because we will meet once a month for a session. So small peer group, no more than 10 people. And on top of the meeting with me, you will have an additional meeting that will be a peer meeting. You'll have little tasks to do, but you're not going to be graded. If you don't do something, you're not going to be chastised or reprimanded. We're just there to help you move your passion to where you want it to be. And I'm going to help artists with finding their voice, building sustainability, how to get out of your own way. I'm going to talk about some of the pitfalls and some of the things that other artists don't talk about, some of that business stuff that artists would never think about until they run into it. So I feel like it will be a highly valuable opportunity for artists to learn some of the ins and outs of the industry from an artist that has been doing it for decades. So I'm going to share that information there. But again, while we are here in the live feeds, you can ask me this stuff for free, and I'll talk about anything, everything, the stuff that I would talk about in the groups. This is the time to do that. So anytime you can catch me live, and I am not live all that often lately, take advantage of it. And that's what I would tell artists is if you have somebody that's willing to share the information with the experience, take advantage of that. When I go lecture and speak at universities on the business of art, I always tell the students that, and they're so apprehensive to ask questions. But why? Ask questions. If somebody's willing to share the expertise, ask the question. So one of the things I want to share with you is that I am a neurodivergent artist with Tourette's. I also have a traumatic brain injury, unrelated. But today I actually debuted a brand new painting from a new collection, and I will step out of the way in a moment to show you a closer look. But the painting is called T.he B.oy I.nside. And I'm really excited about this one because I feel like I was able to fall in love with painting again. I feel like I started to lose that for a little bit. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about a couple minutes ago with the mentoring and the commercial side of art. When you make your living as an artist, you can't help but pay attention to the numbers, if things are selling, if that is how you're paying your bills. And I started to get a little bit too lost in that. I started to get lost in the metrics, the performance on social media. Are people engaging with my videos? Are people even watching my videos? Am I being seen for the effort that I'm putting in? And it got really overwhelming. And so I just said, you know what, especially with the traumatic brain injury, I got to focus on myself. I got to put myself first. And so I just started saying F you to all that. And not F you in a bad way, but like F that, like whatever. It is what it is. And I started putting myself first and focus on making the work that I need to make. And my slogan is don't be afraid to be different, be afraid to be the same. And I started to fall into being a little bit too much the same. So now I'm getting back to doing my thing, doing it my way, doing it unapologetically. And you know what happens when you do that? People take notice. So when you chase the money, when you chase the success, a lot of times it remains a stranger. But when you just start following the passion, that other stuff seems to open up for you. And I am seeing that again. And it's something I've seen time and time again, but sometimes you have to learn lessons a couple times. And that's the case for me. I've had to learn a couple times, and part of that has to do with being somebody that has a traumatic brain injury that's had to find myself again. And one of the real difficulties with the traumatic brain injury is that because I can put together a sentence from time to time, people think that I'm perfectly fine, but they don't see what's going on the inside. They don't see that I only have a couple functional hours a day, that I struggle with memory. Sometimes I forget where I am or what I'm doing, or sometimes I'm just in a complete fog and can't get a single word out and I stutter. And that's something that I'm able to explore in the art, and particularly with this series. This series is allowing me to slow things down, to fall in love with painting again, to fall in love with the process like a child. And I would come in the studio every day for over a month as I worked on this piece. And maybe some days I would only work for 5, 10 minutes. But I would do something. I'd take a little step, action, reaction. I'd do something. The next day I could come back in, I could react to it. But even giving it that 5, 10 minutes, I was able to feel productive. I was able to feel accomplished. I was able to feel like I was taking these baby steps that would lead to the much greater goal. And it did. And I really enjoyed it. Because before this, with the way that my brain works, is I start something and I feel like I have to go A to B. I feel like, oh, I started a painting. I got to finish this painting. I got to finish this painting. And I have the blinders on. And I feel like with that came a little bit of anxiety, I would say. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy the painting, but it just wasn't the healthiest relationship. And I feel like the work that I'm moving into is allowing me to have a healthier relationship with my art and with myself. And I talk a lot about mental health and mindfulness with my art too, about the healing journey. For those that don't know, I call my process acrylic alchemy. And it's about transmuting pain to purpose, creating light from your darkness. Because trust me, I have a lot of darkness. But guess what? That gives me a lot of fuel and a lot of source material to work with. And I am doing my best with the time that I have to create some light for myself. And I think more importantly, these days for others. So if you're out there struggling, I want to let you know that it is possible, that there is hope. And on that note, maybe let's take a closer look at the painting. So one of the things that I have is I have a couple rags in my hand. So I saved the rags for my painting as little accessory gifts. I also saved the palette. I think about an artist I love, like a Van Gogh. And if I could have a Van Gogh painting, I would love that. But I would love a palette or a palette knife or a brush or a rag just as much, just in a different way. But one of the things that I do is I give these to collectors as accessory gifts. And I feel like it just creates a more personalized whole experience. It's that little bit of extra. It's that magic. But let's take a look at the painting. I am going to pull the chair aside. We're going to flip it around. We're going to take a closer look. Now, I did post a short today for those that want to check it out that shows the process of it. I also posted some photos of it, but the photos in the videos are always going to miss some of the details, the Easter eggs that I hide for those that are willing to dive in headfirst or sit with my paintings a little bit more. So, like here, you can see some of the texture. Here's some hard edge geometric shapes. Now, I don't do any airbrushing, so all that's done with masking and brush technique. I also have a lot of that ribboning going on, but one of the things that I did you can't see is like right there in this area. You're not going to notice this until I come up here, but I did a little spot gloss ribboning. So basically, what I did is I took some varnish and just did a spot gloss. So things that you would never see unless you look at the painting in the light or at different angles, little implied shapes, things going behind things, going in front of other things, lots and lots of texture. This shape right here looks like it's kind of just vacant, but it's actually a dimensional shape. And then there's things going in front of things that are behind other things. There is a little iridescent piece that glows in the light, but aside from that, you never notice it for the most part. So lots of Easter eggs, things hidden in this piece. And that's why a piece like this, from far away, it might just look like a little bit of chaos, but it's a structured chaos. I like to play with polarities, construction versus deconstruction, chaos versus control, organic versus inorganic. And this is my world. This is the world of an artist with a traumatic brain injury. And I try to create my own world, my own worlds for myself so that I have a place for myself. Because a lot of times I feel like I don't. And I try to create a place for others that may feel like me as well. So that is the new piece. There's going to be much more to come. I'm excited to see where this series goes. One of the other things that I'm going to do is this series is going to have little portals, little windows to all my other bodies of work. So it's going to tie together my entire history as an artist, which I think is kind of a cool thing to do. So it's going to be like a legacy collection in a manner of speaking. So that's all I had for you today. I just want to pop on, say hello, see if we had any questions. I figured we might not. It is a Tuesday. I don't do a lot of live feeds, so sometimes people don't know to catch me here. But I do want to say thank you to everybody that did tune in or that does tune in. You can find me again on all my pages in my link tree, in my information on my homepage. So go check that out. And I am wishing you well on your creative journey.